lecture, I hope to take you on a journey, and this journey, inshallah, is to bring you closer to the Quran. And as our lecture goes on, you will come to understand the sacrifices made to bring the Quran to us today. So I think it's very important that we, inshallah, try and grasp the essence of the Quran as we are hoping to undertake this journey, inshallah. And just to start things off, I'll just give you an overview of the lecture that we will have tonight, inshallah. So the first thing we will try and cover is the nature of the Quran. How the Quran came to be such a dynamic revelation that supersedes everything else. We will also look at the history of the Holy Quran and how that had been scribed. We will look at how the Quran needs to be read in a slow, melodious voice. We also need to look at how the various laws of the Quran in terms of its recitation, you know, the ahkam of it, the tartil of it, the tajweed of it. And these are things just that I will lightly touch on because this, you know, we've only got an hour and we try to limit it to an hour so that your concentration doesn't wander as we proceed. So we will try and max it just out to an hour, inshallah. From that, we will go on to the maqams, or the music of the Quran, and these are Arabic music scales that we will just touch on as well. We will also look at how these melodies are applied to the Quran. So it is not just a matter of someone can read Quran, they are hifdul Quran, they've memorized it, and they are now able to put a little tune to it. It is how it is applied. And there is an exact understanding and exact science to it. And inshallah we will go through this through tonight's lecture. And ultimately what this journey that we are on tonight is to help you understand how the melodies of the Holy Quran inspires those who understand it. So if by the end of this lecture you can understand somehow how great shuyukh, how great qurra, how great reciters of this holy Quran of ours, how they read to other shuyukh and other qurra, and how these other shuyukh and other qurra say, MashaAllah, this person is greater than I am. He inspires me to read more. So if that is the journey I can take you on, inshallah, then I think there is a spark that we had started. And inshallah, upon that journey, we can then read more about our Holy Quran. We can then feel inspired to understand it at a greater level. So, to understand the miraculous nature of the Holy Quran, the Arabs were well known for their mastery of language and the way that they used it. And for someone like the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who had come along illiterate, he could not read or write. For him to have that understanding and that caliber of language became a very great miracle. So, as the text says, you know, this was the Prophet's greatest miracle. There were other miracles that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had done during his lifetime by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in the same instance, this was the greatest one. And this is the one that inspires his ummah. This is the guide for us to live by. So, in terms of its language and the way that it flows, a close look at the Quran will reveal that there is a high level of rhetorical eloquence. There is poetry in it. And the scale in which it is done not only speaks to its own language, but it supersedes all other languages. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. We have revealed this Holy Quran to you in the Arabic language, so you may understand, so that you may gain wisdom from it. So this language is confirmed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be the best language, because this is the final testament. This is the final revelation of the Holy Quran. So in terms of application of this Holy Quran, we might think that this is only for the shuyukh, this is only for the imams and for those who want to be pious. It is not. It is for everyone. So if we look at it, many of us here are in the medical profession, and the Quran in itself is a science. There is a science to it. So it tells us about the vast universe. It tells us from those factors outside of ourselves. It tells us of those within ourselves and the mastery of it. And all of this science is to show us that this is the true word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the true path of life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, we will show them our signs in this universe as well as within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that it is the truth. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself confirming that this is the absolute truth. So in terms of its legal application, so we've now spoken about science, we now move on to legal framework. And for those who do not know, the Quran itself, when it was revealed, when the Nabi Muhammad made the hijrah, what had happened was he arrived in Yathrib. He arrived in the city of Madinatul Nabi. And it's okay that he had to create a framework to coexist with the Jews and the Christians that were already there. And in this instance, he had created the first written constitution of this world. And it is called the Constitution of Medina. If you haven't read about it, research it. MashaAllah, it is a fantastic piece of work. So the Quran itself, it confirms the laws that we have to abide by. It is perfectly suited, not just for us, but for all time. And it doesn't need any changes or additions or in any way to make it work for us. It is a complete study of what we need to do. There's nothing beyond the Holy Quran that we need to understand to apply it within our own lives. So if we consider, for example, there is this new understanding of halal living. So if you consider halal living, how does this apply in my life? How does this concept of halal living take me to a higher being? Take me closer to Allah. So if you look at how the Sahaba lived, if you look at the understanding of the Quran, then it is very easy for you to apply that within your life. Just be very careful, because the Nabi Muhammad says, a person who studies the Quran without a teacher, shaitan becomes his teacher. So make sure you have a very good guide. Make sure that you have a chaperone to help you understand the laws of the Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. So he says, does he who created not then know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all pervading, he is all aware. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenges everyone, saying that we are now understanding who you are. We are absolute, we are beyond reproach. We are above contestation. We are your creators. So, in terms of the unseen world, coming back to the Nabi Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran and how dynamic it was, there were certain things that the Nabi Muhammad was not aware of. But by the qadr of the Quran and by the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it had so come that he came to understand things that people around him knew that he did not know of. So the first part is that he had knowledge of past things. Past things meaning how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created mankind, how the creation of the universe. He knew how previous prophets' words were. He knew how Allah had destroyed them. He knew of their books. And how could someone who is illiterate understand this? So by the dynamic nature of the Holy Quran, we now come to realize that the Nabi Muhammad he had knowledge of the past, but he also had knowledge of the present. And in terms of the present, he knew what happened around him. And he informed his followers through the revelations that he received by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one example is that when the Nabi Muhammad went to conquer Makkah, he had to flee out of Makkah, ran to Medina, established himself, came back to Makkah, and this was at the conquest of Makkah. Many historians believe that this was the Nabi Muhammad's finest hour. Why? Because not a single branch was broken. it was a peaceful takeover of Makkah. But on his journey, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the Surah Al-Fath. And the starting ayat is, Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. We have indeed opened for you. We have opened for you like we have opened for everyone before you. And this was very comforting to the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he fled from the city, and he didn't want to go with any sense of aggression. So by this verse, when he read it, some of the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, has this verse been revealed in repetition? Has it revealed like 5 or 7 times? Nabi Muhammad says, no, I am just reading it because it is so dear to me. It has been revealed once. So these are things that the Nabi Muhammad knew ahead as to the conquering of Makkah, even whilst he was on his way. He knew that it was going to be a peaceful occurrence. So in terms of future things, the Nabi Muhammad also told us what was going to happen in the future. Not just his future, but all of our futures. He told us about what is going to happen in the grave. He told us what is going to happen on the day of resurrection, and how terrifying those events are going to be. He had warned us of all of this. So by this understanding, these prophecies that the Nabi Muhammad made, and the revelation of the Quran itself, this has only come to solidify exactly that this Quran is complete, it is kamil, and it is definitely from Allah. So, in terms of the Quranic miracles of the Holy Quran, I think it is very important for us to note at this point in time that not everyone is qualified to talk on them. And on this basis, we should be very careful and safeguard against these sort of matters when we discuss them. Why? Because there might be some understanding based upon previous ayat that apply also. So it's not just a single understanding. You must have a broad understanding of the Holy Quran, of the Hadith, to understand how these miracles were accomplished. So in terms of the divine revelation of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used these books, these revelations, as a means to convey which laws Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to follow, what He wanted the prophets to accomplish for that moment in time. When it came to the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it wasn't just for that moment in time, it was for all time. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was always happy when he received revelation of the Holy Quran. So in doing so, when there were moments that there weren't, he became very sad. One instance I will explain further on in our lecture, where he became so sad, he became a shell of himself, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a certain surah for him. And we will get to that in a minute. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, وَكَذَلِكَ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ رُوحًا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have thus revealed a spirit to you by our command. So this Quran is from Allah's ruh. And he says, you did not know earlier what was this book, nor what was faith. You did not understand this concept of faith. But we have brought nur to you, we have made it light. And guiding with it whomsoever Allah wills. Now, this is a very important point that we need to understand. This ayat of the Quran has so many deeper meanings. So if we say, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He had revealed to you of His ruh, and you did not know of this book, and He guides whom He wills, then by understanding, anyone who wants to learn more of the Quran, who wants to learn more of the divine revelation, and wants to understand more, is in itself understanding more of Allah, coming to realize the relationship that one has with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by understanding more of the Quran, you then come to realize how insignificant your life is in the scale of time, and how you are nothing, how we are all nothing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everything. So, based on this ayat, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, every prophet was given miracles because of which people believed. But what the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was given was divine inspiration by Allah. And this wasn't Abu Hurairah's words, this was Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's words. And he had said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed this to him. Therefore, I hope that I hope, meaning the Prophet ﷺ hopes, that his followers, or us, will outnumber the followers of the prophets of the day of resurrection. So he wants his ummah to be the biggest ummah on the day of Qiyamah. So in terms of safeguarding the Holy Quran, how do we understand that? How was this Quran revealed? Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. So he says, indeed, it is we who have sent down the Quran, and indeed, we will be its guardian. So, if we look at this ayat, we could all accept, we don't have to safeguard anything. We won't have to protect the laws. We won't have to abide it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will keep it safe. But that is not it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He will safeguard the law in the letter of it. So, if we understand that in this instance, it is complete. How do we understand it to be complete? How was the Quran revealed in the first instance? So this brings us to the first aspect of the melodies of the Holy Quran. The first aspect meaning when the Quran was revealed, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam, the angel Gabriel, came to the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam on top of the mountain, grabbed hold of him and told him, Iqra, read. First time, nothing happened. Second time, nothing. Third time, presto, ya salam. There is hidayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens for him and he reads. He repeats, Iqra. So, there was no book given. There was no pages given. The Quran was revealed from mouth to ear. From mouth to ear. He heard Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. He listened to it. He understood it. What he didn't understand, he asked Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. And it was clarified to him. And then he went to his followers, to his Sahaba. And he told them of the revelations. So it was again mouth to ear. And in our current day, we have, for example, people who have what is called a sanad, a seal, a certification, which links them from themselves right to the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through their teachers. So, meaning that if we take, for example, myself, I heard my ustad. My ustad heard his ustad, and so on and so forth, until it was the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the first ustad was Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a direct link. We have it written down. You know exactly what your link is. See? So in terms of the Quran itself, this ayat, إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. What this tells us is that even though the papers are gone, even though the papers can be corrupted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had kept it secure in people's hearts, in their minds. He had kept it secure, not just in one instance, but by millions of people. And if there is any letter missing, it is not possible. Why? Because there is tafsir upon tafsir, there is translation, there is interpretation, there is understanding, there is translation for every single letter of the Holy Quran. If one letter is out, the Quran does not balance. The Quran's structure in terms of its language doesn't balance. It is such an exact language that anything taken out or pronounced wrong changes everything. And we will get to that in a minute. So, how the revelation took place. From the time the first revelation came to the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 23 years, matter of 23 years, it was revealed. So, if we look at how this Quran was revealed, it was in small pieces. It was in small pieces, and this is confirmed in the Holy Quran itself, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is a Quran which we have divided into parts from time to time, in order that you may recite it to people at intervals. And we have revealed it by stages. So this means that it wasn't just, here is the law, follow it now. For example, when Salah became compulsory, it was still allowed for khamr. We could still drink. And only after that khamr became haram. Why? Because people were making Salah, but they were intoxicated, falling over whilst they're making Salah. See? So the Quran was revealed to help people understand how to lead a life. And if we follow that principle, we then come to understand this Quran is for all time. Because it was revealed as a lifetime, 23 years. It was revealed when the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached his peak age of 40. And until the age of 62 and a half, 63, final revelation came to him. And if you're looking at changing the nature of the Arab, from before the time of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was acceptable to bury people alive. Babies got buried alive. Babies were kept secret. It was a shame if it was a girl. So from that instance to changing it after the life of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the rank of a female is so high that it is that children refer to their ummi 3 times and then their father once. So when it was asked of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is closest to you? Who is my first? Who should be your first love? Allah. Second love, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Third love, ummi, mother. Fourth love, mother. Fifth love, mother. Hold on, where's the father? Okay, father. You see? So that rank. So not only is it that rank, but as all children, our Jannah lies below her feet. That's how high. Meaning that mothers, females, are considered higher than Jannah, because Jannah is below her feet. See? So to change the nature of an Arab, change the nature of someone or a nation who was illiterate, who did things jahiliyyah. It was not possible. I will come to certain things that they did whilst the Kaaba was in their control before the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will think like, how is this possible? How is it that these people actually found this acceptable? But it is because that level of lifespan and that understanding, that journey that the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been taken on, was a journey to change the nature of someone who brutally killed someone, slandered someone, buried someone alive, to the point whereby I had taken someone's key. I have just opened Makkah, I've taken someone's key, just a key. I had to go back, I had to say, this is your key. The Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, here is the key to the Kaaba. Look. The Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, take that key back. Till today, the key is still in that same family's name. The king cannot open that Kaaba until he makes application to this family, the Qaws family. See? So now, that man, Sayyidina Abu Bakr, he wanted to grab this key, took it back, and Muslim said, I'm not having this key, take it back. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr went back to this man, and he said, please, I am so sorry, tears filled his eye. Passed it back. When this man realized, yes, salam, this man was just about to kill me for this thing, and now he's come back seeking my forgiveness in such a humble way, and he became Muslim immediately. So to change that type of nature over a 23-year span shows us that the inspiration found in the Holy Quran and the way it is put to us, anyone can change, even us. So the Quran was revealed from 5 to 10 verses at the time, more or less, whenever was needed for guidance. And it was Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam who came down with the revelations, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, this book is certainly a revelation from the Lord of all the worlds. The faithful Jibreel alayhi salam has brought it down. نَزَلَ بِالْرُوحِ الْأَمِينِ. So upon your heart, that you may be of the warners in a clear Arabic tongue. Again, Arabic comes back in again. So as Muslims who subscribe and ascribe to this beautiful deen, it only then makes it very easy for us to understand that Arabic brings us closer to the Quran, brings us closer to Allah. So for those of us who do not understand Arabic, inshallah, we will be having Arabic courses. And I will encourage you to come to those courses, inshallah, so that you may gain a greater understanding of this Holy Quran, inshallah. So, in terms of the compilation of the Holy Quran, if we look at how it became in a book form, see, so our journey had started about how fantastic this Holy Quran is, how it applies to everyone, how secure it was, how definitive it was, to now after the time of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is after the demise of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now, how do we get a book? How is it possible for us to have it so easy? The book is on the shelf, we pick it up, and here's the Quran. How did we get it so easy? And how do we know it is accurate? Who kept it in place? How weren't there any changes introduced like books before? if you look at the Bible, there's so many versions of it. In fact, there were certain instances where certain of the passages disappeared. If you look at the Torah, they've changed it. They've completely changed it. They've added stuff into it to the point that it is no longer salim. It is no longer sahih. It is no longer pure. So how did we get to this point? So in the time of Sayyidina Abu Bakr, in his Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab came to Sayyidina Abu Bakr and he asked Sayyidina Abu Bakr, please can you compile this Quran in its written form? Many of the Sahaba who had memorized the Quran, they have been killed in battle. And there's a fear that when these people go, we might not have that first level to write the Quran itself. So let us take it from the people who were in the presence of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after this. And Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he then said, yes, I will accept this. What he then did, he instructed Zayd bin Thabit. Now, Zayd bin Thabit, this guy was a very significant person. This Sahaba was very significant. And it so came that he was charged with this task of being in charge of collecting all the manuscript, all the Quran itself. Now at that time, the Quran was not written. Some of it was, but most of it was memorized. It was from mouth to ear, remember? It started from Sayyidina Jibreel to the Prophet ﷺ, mouth to ear to the Sahaba. There was no book. Sayyidina Jibreel didn't tell him, here's a book. It doesn't work that way. So, in terms of Zayd bin Thabit, why he was so significant, among other factors, he was the primary scribe. So when the Prophet ﷺ received revelation, when there was correspondence, he was the one that wrote it down. He was the primary scribe. And he had the most knowledge of the Quran. So much knowledge that he memorized the entire Quran during the Prophet's life. Now, how fortunate was he? His ustad was the Prophet ﷺ from cover to cover, everything done. The Nabi Muhammad ﷺ made sure he knew the Quran 100%. He was his ustad. How fortunate was he? So, and he was also present at the Nabi Muhammad ﷺ's last recitation to Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. Now, on a biannual basis, roughly, Sayyidina Jibreel came and made more raja', went over with the Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, made sure he had the Quran salim, he had it secure. He knew exactly everything as it should be. There was no missing parts. So during the last sitting, Zayd ibn Thabit, he was present. So what then happened was, Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be pleased with him, he collected the Quranic revelations from different writing materials as from the memories of manners also. And after completing this, he took these sheets and he gave it to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So he's now compiled all of this. He's given it to Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq inspects it. Everything is okay. So everyone goes through it. MashaAllah, this is exactly how we understand it. So Sayyidina Abu Bakr, before he died, he left these sheets with Sayyidina Umar. And Sayyidina Umar in turn left it with his daughter. Left it with his daughter Hafsa. So when it so came that these sheets, the Quran was in her custody now. And Uthman ibn Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, he later obtained this manuscript of the Quran from her. Now, at that point in time, the Arabic language wasn't written in the way that we understand it now. The Arabic language, before we go there, the written copy of the Quran is called a mushaf. And this mushaf literally means a collection of newspapers. Mushaf. So when someone says, pass me the mushaf, they're referring to the Quran, the compilation of newspapers. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, he was the third Khalifa, he said, the one with the greatest reward for the written copies of the Quran is Sayyidina Abu Bakr al-Bani. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have mercy upon him, as he was the first to collect the book in a single volume. So, during the reign of Uthman ibn Affan, something happened. Something happened that forced him to take drastic action. What had happened was that the Islamic Ummah, the Muslim Ummah had grown. It had grown to such an extent that there were now a variety of language being spoken, because that word, aslim, taslim, those words went out. People embraced. but they were not from Arab. Some of them couldn't even speak Arabic. So Uthman ibn Affan, he feared that the Quran might undergo changes, and he felt it necessary to standardize the text of the Quran in one specific dialect. Now this dialect I'm talking about is not the qira'at, the 10 qira'at. This is called ahraf. And there were 7 of them. But you had to recite it in a certain way. You could not cross them. But what had happened, because people weren't aware of this, they crossed them and they changed the meaning of the Quran. So this became a very big problem. So Sayyidina Uthman, he requested from Hafsa, the daughter of Sayyidina Umar, to provide him with the sheets of the Quran that Sayyidina Abu Bakr had left with her. And she granted his request. Which meant, what that means to us is that she did not pass it out. It was kept with her. It was never handed out so that it could be corrupted. It was always with her. It was safeguarded. So Uthman ibn Affan, he sent for Zayd bin Thabit, the person who had written it, and for Abdullah ibn Zubayr, Sa'id ibn al-As, and Abdurrahman ibn al-Harith ibn Hashim. May Allah be pleased with them. And he instructed them to copy the sheets, all these loose sheets, into a single mushaf based on the dialect of the Quraysh. And this is now what we would call the Uthmani print, or the Uthmani recitation itself. And the main tribe of Makkah to which this Qurayshi dialect was revealed. So it was the closest that they had in terms of caliber of this is 100%. If it was a different dialect, we don't have command over that dialect, we have command over this, we will keep it secure. So Uthman ibn Affan, he ordered that many copies of this be made. The single mushaf, he ordered many copies of this to be made from this original copy that was compiled by these 4 scholars. And it so came that he sent a copy of this to every Muslim province along with the teacher. The teacher then informed them of the proper reading, proper manner of reading it, the pronunciation, the reading, how it needs to be done, the memorization. Everything was done as ordered, and this was in the time of Uthman ibn Affan. So Uthman ibn Affan, his version of the Quran was written in an old script, old Arabic script. Now, old Arabic script is not what we have today, where you can read it and it's very easy to actually read because it has annotations on it. You can hear the sound, you can see the dots on it, it makes it very easy. And this Uthmanic print, or this Uthmanic old style Arabic was called a Rasm. In Arabic it's Rasm. So they would call this Rasmul Uthmani. So this is the print of Uthman. And oral recitations were fixed gradually to prevent any mistakes. Now, why would this be important? Why would annotating this be important? Because in the time of Sayyidina Uthman, what had happened was this here, this black, is what would be called the old Arabic script. The nukta, the actual dots, that only came afterwards. See? And the blue, which is the harakat, the actual sounds, that came afterwards as well. So the problem was, for those who did not know, they would read Alhamdulillahi Rabbil, but how would they know that would be a ba? How could that be a ta or a tha? See, so to them, there were changes being made to the Quran by pronunciation, by reading. And they then decided to set about by putting diacritical marks, vowel signs indicating what the word was and how it was meant to be pronounced. Also, the actual spacings itself between words, that was also put in. Else it was just loose letters, and that was very difficult to actually read. So, from the 3rd century after the Hijrah onward, calligraphers vied with each other to copy the Quran in expressive, harmonious, and skillful manner using distinctive symbols and diacritical marks. Suddenly, if you look at older scripts, and you will see that suddenly there's gold gild on it, and the colors became more amazing, and the way they had written became more elaborate. So, just a simple Google search will show you various of these old Qurans in the way it was written. Don't look at the content, some of it, but just look at the way the actual script was. So after that, surah names were then put in, number of verses, verse symbols, pausing, startings, all of these things started to be added in afterwards. And this made it easy for us now to actually read it. So the Quranic revelations continue to be sent out to the Prophet throughout his entire life. And according to Muslim scholars, if a verse was revealed before the Prophet's migration to Medina or the Hijrah, it is considered to be Makki. And if it was revealed after the Hijrah, it was considered to be Madani. But there was an understanding to this law that was created. And this definition does not consider the actual place of the revelation. So for example, those verses that were revealed during the farewell pilgrimage, 8 after the Hijrah, or the Prophet's victorious conquering of Makkah, 10 after the Hijrah, are considered Madani, even though they were revealed in Makkah. So it comes down to the definition of time revelation. So from the time of the Hijrah, that is considered either Makki or Madani. And each of the Makki and Madani revelations has unique attributes that distinguish from each other. And this is because each type of revelation catered to different needs. So the Muslims varied according to their circumstances. So if you look at, for example, Makkah and Medina, even today, if you go for Umrah or for Hajj, inshallah, and I make dua Allah takes you and keeps you safe, that you will, if you speak to the local Makkans, they are very hard. They are very harsh and very solid in the way that they look at things. So if, for example, you go to the bazaar, you buy some potatoes, you say, I'd like a kilo of potatoes. He would not give you more than a kilo. He would give you a kilo. Yeah? If you go to Medina, for example, suddenly you say, I want a kilo, he gives you a kilo and a half. Yeah? So the nature of the Arab, just the Arab out of Makkah and Medina is different, which meant that the script had to be done according to that circumstance. So if you look, for example, at the way the rhetorical nature, the eloquence of the Quran. So if, for example, you say, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tabb. See, the ba bounces a lot. So it is more, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tabb. It is more to, come on, you have to do this. This is what has happened. This is a reaction. It is bang, 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 bang. If you look at another, for example, you say, Al-Haqqa, Mal-Haqqa, wa ma adraka mal-Haqqa. See? Different nature to it. The way it flows, very different. So you have the Makki style and you have the Madani style. So in this understanding, the dialect and the way that the Quran was revealed distinguished itself from each other. And this is why it was classed, Makki and Madani. So now we come to the aspect of how we read the Quran. So reading or recitation of the Quran should be done slowly and distinctly, meaning with tartil and with due observance of the rules of revelation, the tajweed itself. So if you look at this concept of tartil and tajweed, so now we are going from mouth to ear. It is now Sahaba, it is now after Prophet ﷺ's demise. Now suddenly that first line from the Nabi Muhammad ﷺ is falling away. Fear, let's write this book down. Now the vowels are inserted, and now suddenly you have, hold on, this needs to be written in a certain, this has to be done in a certain way. There is certain ahkam to it, there is certain ways of doing it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says, in Surah Muzammil, He says, أَوْزِدْ عَلَيْهِ وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. Recite the Quran in slow, measured, rhythmic tones. Ibn Kathir, he says in his writing that is, recite it slowly, for that will help you understand the Quran and ponder its meaning. So, if you read the Quran in a slow, melodious voice, that is the basis of the music. That is the basis of the music, and each ayah has its own understanding, has its own tafsir, has its own understanding. And if you understand the music and you understand the tafsir, you can bring them together. The music and the melody of the Quran. So, Ali ibn Abi Talib, he says in his understanding of tartil, he says, do not babble like the babbling of poetry when reciting the Holy Quran. And do not let the words tumble out of the way like dried dates fall from a bunch when it is shaken. So don't babble about it. Read it in a way. Stop at its wonders. Move the hearts thereby, and do not let the object of any one of you be to hastily reach the end of the surah. So it's not a race. It is there for you to ponder each and every syllable, each and every word, each and every understanding, and so on. So the types of rules that we have to maintain, there are quite a few of them. And these are just, shall I say, the rules of reading, not the tajweed, just the rules. So, for example, when we read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. Do not hold the Quran, لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ, until you have cleansed yourself, you have taken ablution, you have taken wudu. And this is the command. So now suddenly, for all of us sitting here, we now understand that this verse of the Holy Quran says to us, you cannot touch the Quran unless you are with wudu, because of this ayah. So from this moment on, if we did not know it, this is now secure, we need to now do this. If, for example, a lady is with a cycle, and she has to memorize, she's memorizing the Quran, then she may touch it, but with gloves, to have some barrier. There are some allowances. It is not, there are exceptions to it, but this again will be under this could be explained by your ustad, by your sheikh at a later stage, inshallah. So, in terms of recommendations or a recommended practice, such as facing the qibla and using a siwak, the siwak or a twig, a natural toothbrush itself, so that you are cleansing any impurities from the mouth. Maybe you're eating and you have something in your mouth and you're reading the Quran and you make something, you actually say it wrong because it's dislodged or something, so you keep your mouth clean before you. A parent, you say the isti'adah. Isti'adah meaning you say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. In terms of its hidden rules of it, you would do so from a sense of sincerity and contemplation. Verbal, such as recitation of the isti'adah, again, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, but now it's added Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Physical, such as facing the qibla. So this is you actually making a concerted, it is now in my head, but from this point on, I'm now going to do something physical. If, for example, we look at the converse of that, the shortest surah of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. Verily by the token of time, this is a qasm. Verily by the token of time, all mankind is at a loss, except what? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. Meaning in your head. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who do good deeds. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and you stand for what is right. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and you have patience. So this is the order. You have iman, you perform an action, then you stand for what is right, you become staunch on what you are doing, and then you have sabr. So if you're looking at this, for example, reading the Quran, you are internalizing it, and from this point on now, you're doing something physical. Whenever I read Quran, I try and turn into Qibla, I'm going to read in the direction of Qibla. Recommended practice. Recitation from the heart. So when you read, you try and understand that this revelation came to me by the sacrifice of so many people. So many people, the greatest of which being our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Before recitation, you would say the actual, you take the wudu, you would say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. During recitation, you use a tranquil voice, a nice voice. You observe the recitation rules. This is now the tajweed. And you ponder about the meaning of the verses. Now this last one is, in a sense, the concept of the stalk. Because all of that last sentence defines the melodies of the Quran. So if you're reading it in a nice voice, appropriate to the ayat, appropriate meaning, you're not going to be happy or have a happy voice when you talk about qiyamah, when you talk about punishment. And you're not going to be sad if you talk about Jannah, some favor Allah has given. You're not going to be sad about that. So it is within application. So this last one if you think about the slow nature of how you're going to read, and you think about how it is going to be read with the tajweed of it, and you think about observing the actual meaning thereof, then you find the inspiration of the Quran. Suddenly this Quran speaks to you. It is not just babbling of the words. This Quran actually has significant meaning. Even though you know the story, you've read the story before, someone tells you the story, mashallah, you find inspiration by it all over again. So, after recitation, acting in its dictates, observing the manners. So this again is acting on that iman that was given. So you have the iman ila alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat, and now you do all the good things that the Quran has set out for you. So tajweed, now to read it properly. So if we read tajweed, for example, it is very important to note that in Arabic there is distinct letters that needs to be separate. And sometimes you find languages close to Arabic that are pronounced differently or said differently, or the vowels are said differently, and that changes the way it is said. So for example, the first one is alif and ayn, and those are different. Now you might think alif, ayn, not a big difference. One instance is, for example, you take the letters ayn, sheen, qaf, ashiq. Yeah? Ashiq, you know what it means? It means a lover. Yes? You take the letter alif, shin, kaf. You know what it means? A rapist. So just changing alif, shin, kaf, ayn, shin, qaf, ashiq and ashiq. Just the pronunciation. You can change it from being a lover to a rapist. So this is why it is important that we read it with tajweed. So these are the letters that normally conflict. Alif and ayn, ta and po, ha, ha, ho, ghayn. You're looking at sin and sad. You're looking at dal and dad, qaf and kaf, the way it is said. So one instance, one thing that we listen to 5 times a day. What is it? What do we listen to 5 times a day? The adhan. So now we find the mu'adhin. The mu'adhin, mashallah, a man of conviction. He makes sure it is read on time. You will never find that mu'adhin in his role if he makes maghrib adhan late. Imagine he makes maghrib adhan late in Ramadan. He'll be a few brothers on top of him. So he is the one who has to be correct. But he reads the adhan. And you all say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He says, I testify that there is no other ilah, there is no other God except Allah. But now, if he doesn't pronounce it right, and he says, Ashadu, he doesn't make the ha. He says, Ashadu Allah. You didn't even hear it now, did you? If I say, Ashhadu Allah, and I say, Ashadu Allah, you hear the difference? So it is very important. Why? Why is this important? If he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, it means I testify. If he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, what does he say? Strongly, there is no other ilah but Allah. There is no shahada there. He just says strongly, intently, it is, for example, if you say, وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. If you say that gossip is worse, it is greater than murdering someone. That word shadda. Yeah? وَالْفِتْنَةُ, fitna meaning gossip, أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. From murdering, أَشَدُّ. You see, it is greater than. So greater than, indeed Allah is, indeed there's no shahada. And that is not the adhan. Which means we change the Quran now. Yeah? So when we look at this, and we look at the tajweed, it is very important that we understand the tajweed. We understand how it is said. So next time we hear the mu'adhin, it is Ashhadu an la. He has to bring the ha from the chest. It has to be outward. So that's one instance. Let's say, for example, mashallah, this is a big qari. Big qari sits in front of everyone. He knows all the tunes. Mashallah, this guy knocks it away. He comes in front of people. Mashallah, this is a grand mufti. Fantastic guy. So, anyone who knows just has to listen to those 2 words in front. Bismillah. That's all they have to listen. He says nothing else. The man says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. He doesn't even read any of the Quran, he just says the Basmala. And those who know that he either knows or doesn't know. How? How? Because in Arabic, you see the ba and the sin. This here is the ba, that there is the sin. So the ba and the sin have a relationship. Yes? And that is the sound, meaning an E sound. And that sign there shows that only those two are connected. So now you have bis. Yes? So that is complete. There's nothing that links any other letters there. So ba and the sin. Now you look at this letter here, the mim. That letter has a sound underneath which is mi. Bis, mi. So the ba and the sin have a relationship, but the sin and the mim has no relationship. Yes? But sometimes someone recites, and he recites Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What does he do? Did you hear what he just did? He said Bismillah. I'll say it again. He said Bismillah. What did he do wrong? He joined the sin to the mim. He said Smi, which is wrong. Why? Because the sin and the mim is not joined. See, in terms of tajweed, he needs to make sure that the sin and the mim is separate. So it's Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. If he says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Smi, problem. It is wrong. So this is the fine tajweed. And remember, tajweed, reciting each letter with its own quality. So if you're changing the way the mim is said, you're not reading that letter with its own quality, are you? Because now you're changing it to smi as opposed to mi. And that changes the Quran. So these little things that we take for granted causes problems. So now we move on to the good stuff. So we've come along this entire journey, mashallah, and we are now at the point we understand the Quran, how it was revealed, we understand how it needs to be said, how accurate it needs to be, and we now understand that tunes. Oh, we're here for tunes tonight. So, the Arabic maqam. Now the word maqam, it literally means place. If you go to, for Umrah, for Hajj, inshallah, and I sincerely make dua that you do, and Allah grant you that and brings you home safely, that you stand in front of the Kaaba. Stand in front of the Kaaba, and you see the golden doors. That is called the Muntazam. You know that door of the Kaaba, that area. And you see in front of you is a little gold dome. This gold dome, inside is a rock. And that thing is called Maqam Ibrahim. Maqam Ibrahim, meaning the place of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's where he stood on that rock. Maqam Ibrahim. So this is Maqam, the word Maqam, it means a place. So it's a system of scales, habitual melodic phrases, modulation possibilities, changing it around, ornamentation techniques, changing the voice, changing the way it sounds, the aesthetic conventions to it. How do you come over in the sound? Is it coarse? Is it soft? Is it? And together, this framework creates an artistic style. Yeah? So these maqams, they compose and improvise music within a specific framework. And this maqam scale is called jim, plural of ajnas. And each of these ajnas, the maqam itself, its intervals, melodic behavior, and overall mood from these constituent ajnas. So to put this into context, just make it very easy for you. You have sounds, da-da-da-da-da-da, simple sounds, yeah? You can make it do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, sounds. Now you can compile them. And you can say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. You can play around with it, the timing. But in the same instance, you could, for example, go and you can make a melody, not using the actual letters now, but just the melody. And you, for example, go, let's say we take a melody, a sad one. See, it is very subtle, very, somber. Now you maybe do something higher tone, and you change the octave of it. So this mood that you create is what this melody is all about. So according to the tradition of these scales. These maqamat, the plural for maqam, has been classified into families, and there are 8 of them. So, an acronym that is commonly used by most Arab scholars of this genre of Arabic music call it Sunya al-Sihr. Each letter has a name of a melody. So the Sad, for example, that refers to Sabah. The Noon, for example, refers to Nahwan. The Ain refers to Ajami. Ba meaning Bayati. The Sin goes to Sika. The Ha, Hujaz. The Ra is Rast. The Kaf is Kut. Yes? So, according to its classified understanding, this scale will give you some understanding of how the Arabic maqams is structured and how it is applied. So Bayati, for example, is feminine, joy, and most Qur'an, most reciters of the Holy Quran, they will start with Bayati. So therefore, for example, it was just flat and it warms the vocal cords. Each of these names, I forgot to say, each of these names was actually named after a person. So someone came along, organized it in a certain way, and he became famous. That is his organization. That is how he had constructed it. That's his framework. So this guy was quite an interesting character. He was a depressed also. So now he comes along and he brings this thing. So let's say, for example, this drama, emotional extremes. You can picture this. You know, I'm sure in our own households, there's one family member like that. You know, that just all over the place. Please, I need your help. This is just too much. Someone needs to come and do this. We all have one of those. So, in the way that this is structured, you can play with these scales and apply them to the Quran. But how do you apply them? How do you know which ones to apply? And this, I can take you back to the surah I mentioned earlier, where the Prophet ﷺ, when he didn't receive revelation for a while, it so came that he became a shell of himself. Why? Because for more than a year, there was no wahy, there was no revelation. Now imagine, you go from being, mashallah, say that Jibreel comes to visit, he revises, all of a sudden, no revelation. What happens? The Jews, the Christians, they say, ha. You claim to have all this good, this goodness with you. You bring this poetry, mashallah. But where is it now? Where's your poetry? You know what it even was? You even pray to our Qibla. Yeah? So this happens, this takes its effect. Nabi Muhammad making salah. He's making salah, but the Jews and the Christians, they're taunting him. And this is depressing to him. So after this time, the first verse reveals. And it is these verses. The chapter is called Surah Duha. Duha meaning by the morning brightness. Now picture this. The Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, the Quran, remember, was revealed mouth to ear. He didn't get whacked with a book. You know, it was told to him mouth to ear. I know some of the Hufaz that I was studying with, some of them thought that, if you whack the Quran really hard, the Quran will go in. Trust me, it didn't. I tried. So the important thing is that, the Nabi Muhammad ﷺ, he suddenly sees Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salam. But picture him. He is like me and you. We are human. Someone says a bad thing to us, we feel sad. Someone says, mashallah, you're fantastic, you feel like $1 million. Yeah? So now here's the Prophet of Allah, the most blessed man. And he feels within himself. He's just a man. He is just a man. So, what happens? It is said to him, Sayyidina Jibreel reads to him, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa-duha. He has to repeat. Wa-duha. Now, this is where the tune comes in. You know that previous slide that I did? This slide, the tune comes in. Which one was it? How did the Prophet ﷺ read it? For those who read that text now of that surah, you understand it. We've read it 100 times, 1,000 times. We read it in our salah, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. MashaAllah, we know this. But have you thought about it? How did the Prophet ﷺ say it? Sayyidina Jibreel says, وَالضُّحَى. Yeah? Now consider this. Look at the rhetorical eloquence of the Holy Quran. Yeah? He was sad. So what does the Quran say? Morning brightness. Morning brightness. Next thing happens, by the night when it covers the dark. Don't worry about that. I know it's been a hard time. But by the morning brightness, the Lord has not taken leave of you, nor has He detested you, like the Jews have been many times said. And the year after is better than you than the first. And the Lord is going to give you, and you will be satisfied. So now, he's still sad. Picture this. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is sad. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is sad. Sayyidina Jibreel comes along. And Sayyidina Jibreel Alayhi Salam says, read Wadduha. And the Prophet is sad. Yeah. So he reads Wadduha. And this is how I think he could have read it. He says, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. You see it? Did you see it? So now turn it around. Let's turn this around. You say, MashaAllah, Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was a man beyond man. Suddenly Sayyidina Jibreel Alayhi Salam arrives, all this heartache he had disappears. All that somber disappears. And he reads it. By the way, the maqam I just read was Nahwan. Yes? I'm going to read now Sika, meaning the opposite that happened. So let's say, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, he now was happy. Immediately, he's picked up. وَالضُّحَى. He's morning brightness now. So he reads it. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. You hear the style? So, if you know the story, you've heard it a million times, but this reciter sits in front of you and he reads it like this. Your emotion goes back to the time of the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you picture it as if he is reading it. And you put yourself in his company. Suddenly you are inspired. Suddenly you think, I am this small. Suddenly you think, mashallah, I so much yearn to be there. And you feel as if your heart overflows. Yeah? The melody of the Quran. So we could apply every one of those scales onto this surah. Because there's different ways we can interpret the way the Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had read it. Yeah, so we could, for example, we take Hujaz. So Hujaz, if we go back, it says Hujaz is solitude, enchantment, mysticism. So to him it was, oh, this is something else. So وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. You hear the whole tone, the whole family of genre that you are bringing along, the melody. You see how you change the understanding, how you change the emotion, how you think, ya salam, was the Prophet really reading it like this? So, I want to play to you how each of these have been compiled by one person, one Egyptian Qari. He had looked at all of these, Rast, Nahwan, Sika, and he made a little tune. And each time the word changes on the screen, it will be a different tune. See if you can identify out of these 8 the differences. the differences in the tone, in the way it is read, in the melody, in the way the emotion came across. Each one is different, very distinct. So each of these 8 have scales under them. So if, for example, we look at Bayati have 5 scales under that again. And you would follow it. You would follow the certain style. But how do you know where to apply it? How do you know where to apply it? This brings us to the next part. So if we look at Surah Yusuf, for example, another bit of understanding for us. Surah Yusuf was, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals, you will see, He says that this is the best of stories. The finest of stories you will find is this surah, Surah Yusuf. So to someone who is going to read Quran, a reciter of Quran, this is the closing aspect of our lecture now. We have built this up. You understand the maqams, you understand the emotion, you understand how exactly we have to read the tajweed of it. And we now know that we can apply these scales based upon emotion. But what makes a reciter above the other reciters? What makes a fantastic reciter? How do you pick the World Qiraat competition, the #1 reciter in the world? What is that difference? What do you need to know? So, the maqams only came about in the 10th century. Only came around in the 10th century where this was standardized. So, from that point on, everyone was reading it either by a certain way. You look at many of our shuyukh. You look at Sheikh Sudais, very distinct style. Yes, but that's one maqam, only one maqam. You look at another sheikh, for example, Sheikh Muhammad Jibril, another maqam, another style of reading. You look at Sheikh Afasi, for example, very distinct. Yeah, so that's a single maqam. So how do you distinguish who is what is known as Abu Quran, the father of all Quran, who's right on top? This is where the understanding comes in, and this is how the melody of the Quran inspires those who understand it. It is this next part of our lecture that is going to explain it to you. So if you look at this surah was revealed to the Prophet ﷺ because the Jews and the Christians, they had very limited information about Prophet Joseph, Nabi Yusuf. Very limited information. And the two of them, the Jews and the Kuffar, the Jews and the Christians, they concocted this plan. Let's sit him down. We'll sit him down. We know what is in our scriptures. So the Jew says to the Christian, you know what's in mine? Mine is very limited. The Christian says, mine is very limited as well. Let's ask him. Right? So we make an appointment. We're going to ask the Prophet ﷺ. Right? Prophet ﷺ. So picture this. Prophet ﷺ is sitting over there. Sayyidina Abu Bakr is sitting over there. And let's say, for example, we are all the Quraysh. Yeah? We are the Kuffar and we now want to understand this from the Prophet. Right, mister, you say you know everything about everything. Tell us about Joseph. Now picture this. The whole room is going mad. It's only 2 people, the Nabi Muhammad ﷺ and Sayyidina Abu Bakr. The whole room is packed, Kuffar Yahud. Yeah? Whole room is packed. But these people are raucous. They are raucous, they're not listening to him. They're making a spectacle of it. Yes? So now, suddenly, revelation comes to them. These people are laughing over each other, making jokes, going crazy. So, Nabi Muhammad says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most merciful. First 3 letters. Alif, Lam, Ra. What happens? The Quraysh, these Kuffar and the Yahud, like, oh, hold on. What did he just say? A-L-R. What does that mean? Yeah, it stifles them. The Quran stifles the Kuffar and the Yahud. They, whoa, what just happened? What's he on about? So, the next part of the verse is, these are the verses of the book, Kitab al-Mubin. Yeah, these are the verses of this is the Quran itself. Indeed, we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran that you might understand. Making it very clear that this Quran is above yours. This Quran is in Arabic above Hebrew. Yeah? It is above yours. It supersedes yours. So, at this point, the room calms down. The whole room calms down. Everyone is like, oh, hold on a minute. We asked you about Joseph. What's going on here? Yeah? Suddenly the next verse reveals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص بما أوحينا إليك هذا القرآن. We do reveal to you the most beautiful of stories of this Holy Quran. Yes? And before we revealed it to you, you knew it not. You did not know this. So if someone says to you, tell me about Fulan, yeah, tell us about little Johnny, tell me about this man. Where are we going to start? Well, he was a good guy, he knew this, this is his credentials. How does the story start? The story starts about a prophet who these Jews and Christians did not know about. And this story starts by actually saying the one thing, the gift that this prophet had, and how this gift was his salvation, but also his greatest curse. So it starts off, and this gift given to him was, then Yusuf said, إِذْ قَالَ يُوسُفُ لِأَبِيهِ. Then Yusuf said to his father, Ya abati, oh my beloved father. He didn't say Ya abi, he said Ya abati. So now the Quran emphasizes one thing there just by that first, but Ya abati, oh my beloved father. For someone to say my beloved father, Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam speaking to his father, says to him, oh my beloved father. It means within him he had love. You can't say my beloved if you don't have love. Yes? And you can't say such a thing if you are disrespectful. Meaning he had utmost of respect. So by just the first word, the Quran reveals that this was a man of character. This was a man of respect. This was a man of eloquence. Yes? Just by saying, Ya abati. Inni ra'aytu ahada ashara. Indeed, I have seen, meaning in a dream. Ahada ashara kawkaban. I have seen 11 stars. Washamsa, and the sun. Wal-qamara, and the moon. Ra'aytuhum, and I saw all of them. Li sajidin, make prostration towards me. So this was the beginning of the story of Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. Now before I go into that, let me just show you one thing. You know this first thing here, next sentence, third sentence, this is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is confirming to the Yahud and the Kuffar in that present time. It speaks directly to them. Now, we are going to take a full few hundred years jump back in time. So from this verse to this verse, we're going hundreds of years back. And it's two different people speaking now. Yes? So now it is Yusuf alayhi salam speaking to his father, Nabi Ayyub alayhi salam. See? He's speaking. So now, if you read Quran, you need to distinguish, there is a time gap. You need to distinguish as two different people speaking. See? It's not just about, mashallah, there's a good melody to it. It is the understanding of how the sabab al-nuzul, how this verse was revealed. Why was it revealed? How was it revealed? We know the story. We know the story, we've heard it 100 times. But if someone tells you, look, hold on a minute, there's a jump there. And when you read Quran, you are going to develop this jump. You are going to make it within your recitation. Yes? So now, let's take it a step further. We say, إِذْ قَالَ يُوسُفُ لِأَبِيهِ يَا أَبَتِ. So then Yusuf said to his father, إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ. This was challenging to him. This was unsettling to him. So, you read with an unsettled voice. Unsettled maqam. So now, he's talking about أَحَدَ عَشَرَ كَوْكَبًا. He's talking about 11 stars. وَالشَّمْسَ, and the sun. وَالْقَمَرَ, and the moon. And he saw all of them. He saw them prostrating. So where are the 11 stars? Where is the sun? Where is the moon? In the sama. It's in the sky. Where do you make sujood? On the floor. Yes? So when you read, where's your voice? See, the maqam comes in. The maqam says you have to go up. 11 stars. The sun, the moon. Ra'aytuhum, I saw all of them. Li sajidin. Down. Right? Sujood. So the maqam dictates there that you have to do it in a specific way. Yes? Now you can become clever. You say, okay, there are 3 things. 11 stars, the sun and the moon. 3 things. So, 3 things making sujood. So you come down 3 notes. Li sajidin, 3 notes. Yeah? Very clever now. So if this had to be recited, It could sound like this. إذ قال يوسف لأبيه يا أبت إني رأيت 11 كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين. See? Application of it. Now, I am not Abu Quran. I am not on top of anyone else. I am just learning this. I'm just getting into it. Yes, mashallah, my teachers, they know this. I'm only now coming to understand how these ajnas are constructed, how these maqams fit in. So, now, we look at someone who many of the Egyptian scholars, the Quran, I will tell you now, and I will say this with all sincerity, the Quran was revealed in Saudi, but it is read in Egypt. Yes? Known fact. That these people, the Egyptians, mashallah, they have a style of reading the Quran, mashallah, it inspires and evokes. So this man, he is known as Abu Quran, the father of all fathers of Quran. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail. To give you some background, he was Hafiz al-Quran by the age of 8, by his father. So every day after school, he had to go to class. His father's waiting on him. But he sees his friends. He has to go and read. He has to go to learn lessons now. But he's from school, he has to go there. He sees his friends playing, going crazy. He's like, I want to be with them. So one day, Sheikh Mustafa Ismail. This story was told to me by Dr. Ahmed Naina. Dr. Ahmed Naina, if you don't know, is the formidable reciter of the Holy Quran. In my book, the #1 guide today. If you don't know him, Google Dr. Ahmed Naina. MashaAllah, this guy's of a caliber of something else. So Dr. Ahmed Naina, who was my ustad, he confirms this. And Dr. Ahmed says that Sheikh Mustafa Ismail, he, after school, he decides, I am going to have a little play. But I don't want my father to find out. How am I going to do this? So what he does, he takes his clothes off, puts it under a branch, jumps into the river, mashallah, with my friends. Yes? Friends clock as to what is going on. They take his clothes, they disappear. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail sitting in the middle of a river. Mashallah, if my dad gets hold of me now, wafat, I am dead. There's no two ways about it. Anyway, he got into a lot of trouble at the end of the day. But that jousful nature maintained. Another instance, how he became famous, for example, Sheikh Muhammad Tuhi came, and he was a great guy. But this guy was old. And Sheikh Mustafa Ismail was a quick study in terms of maqams. No one taught it to him. He heard it, realized, he did it like this, and he understood what they were doing. He was musically inclined. So, it so came in this one sitting, this sheikh was very pronounced in reading in a certain way. He used to sort of stop the letters and pronounce it in a different way. And he used to read it, for example, end of Surah Hujarat into Surah Qaf, he would read, وَاللَّهُ بَصِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ قَافْ وَالْقُرْآنِ الْمَجِيدِ. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail gets hold of this. He sees this guy. Now, Maghrib Salah. After Maghrib, Sheikh gets up. There's what is called a dikka. So the dikka is like a little bench. You get on top. The Qari sits there. He reads his Quran. So this Sheikh is now, after Maghrib, going to get on there. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail doesn't make Salah to Maghrib. He jumps into the dikka. Whilst this guy is making Salah, he goes, وَاللَّهُ بَصِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ قَافْ وَالْقُرْآنِ الْمَجِيدِ, making fun. So Sheikh is reading his tahiyyat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Ya walad. Telling the guy, get off. Off. What you on about? Off. You will never read in front of me again. So Sheikh Mansour, he says, it's not a problem, please leave him be. But that nature of the man. So it so came that he became renowned by his style. His style was very easy. You hear some of the Quran, after 5 minutes you have a little bit of a headache, because it's too high, too monotonous, too the same. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail had a way of telling you a story. 3, 4 hours, 5 hours at a time. In fact, there was one instance in the late 40s he was asked by Sheikh Sha'shai to read for the radio station. And he had to limit it to 30 minutes. Yes, and this was challenging for him. So then he had to define a new style of recitation. Today, you listen to his recitations and you will find that all he has to do is say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Then you know, that's a 5-minute sitting. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. 30-minute sitting. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. 45-minute sitting. Just by his style, you knew exactly what he was going to do. Yeah? In fact, the late President Anwar Sadat, he said to Sheikh Mustafa Ismail once, you know, call the Sheikh. Now, obviously, Egypt, you know, President has some dignitaries, reads Quran, and he called Sheikh Mustafa, read something. 5 minutes. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail, what's going on? 5 minutes. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Quiet. Probably about 40 seconds quiet. صدق الله العظيم. President is like, what's going on? He says, I don't know what to tell you. I've got 2 minutes. You want me to bring inspiration from the Quran? What am I going to tell you in 2 minutes? If you want inspiration, give me some time, I'll tell you. Yeah? So it's the understanding of Quran, how you mobilize it. Yes? So Sheikh Mustafa Ismail, there are some other great reciters of Quran. Sheikh Bathili, Sha'shai, Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, I think most here heard, Sheikh Sadiq al-Nishawi, Sheikh al-Khusri, Muhammad Rifat, Salama, Suwaisi, Mustafa Ghalwash, Ali Banna, Dr. Ahmed Naina. So, let's take this to the final step. The final step of our lecture. Let's listen to this Sheikh Mustafa Ismail. I just shared some personal details with you. I've developed a relationship between you and Sheikh Mustafa Ismail. You have a link with him now. You know his life. You know his demeanor. You know his style. But you've not heard him in action. Now, before I let you hear him, I need to explain to you a few things. Some of us understand Arabic, some of us don't. For those who do, they'll find it easy. For those who don't, I'll try and make it as best I can. So, you know the story of Yusuf alayhi salam? The first one I said, it's a whole story of it, mashallah, the best of stories. So, in the story, the brothers want to get hold of Yusuf. But the father's protective. Stay away from Yusuf. You know, khalas, he's miskin, you know, he's very fragile, please, you know, you stay away. So now, these brothers are thinking, hold on, Yusuf came along, Yusuf alayhi salam, he came along, and now our father's affection is not with us anymore. He's forgotten us. He's caused problems. This little boy's caused problems. This is a half-brother. He had 10 brothers from the previous, and he had another brother, Binyamin, after him. But the 10 brothers are concocting. So they said, let's just take him out of the picture. If we take him out of the picture, our father will be more affectionate towards us. So we decide, let's kill him. One of them says, no, we're not going to kill him. We're not going to kill him. We are going to just put him down and down. Just leave him, abandon him. Yeah? So now, they concoct this plan. But they have to get to their father. They have to tell their father, let this guy with us. He's safe. Leave him with us. So there's a little bit of pleading going on. So this is told to us in the Quran. And it is said in this verse 11 of Surah Yusuf. It says, قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا مَا لَكَ لَا تَأْمَنَّا. So they said, قَالُوا, they said, يَا أَبَانَا. Oh, our father. Yeah? يَا أَبَانَا. So if you look at this sentence, أَبَانَا, you know the noon? That shows us. يَا أَبَانَا. So if you look at na, it's all of us. So if I say all of us, يَا أَبَانَا. See? All of us. Yeah? مَا لَكَ لَا تَأْمَنَّا. You know, why do you not entrust with us? Why don't you entrust? مَا لَكَ لَا تَأْمَنَّا. What's wrong? Why? عَلَى Yusuf. Yeah? وَإِنَّا لَهُ. And we are to him لَنَاصِحُونَ. We are his counselors, guardians. We will look after him. Meaning we are above him. You know, we will protect him. So if someone is protecting, it means we're going to look down on him. So the ayat is, the maqam is going to go down. If you look at وَإِنَّا قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا, it is going to go all of us. Yes? So, this is the crux over here. أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا. Let him come with us. And this is the ask. Right? So if you're going to ask, think of it in context. Sheikh Mustafa Ismail, for example, he says that أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا. Who's ma'ana? Ma'ana meaning the 10 brothers. Again, the 10 brothers. So they won't ask once. One will ask, they tag team, another one ask, next one ask, and then finally the one comes with the most sincere style. Please let him come with us. Yeah, and it all comes down to this year. أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا. Now please keep focus on this. Those are the specific words. غَدًا meaning tomorrow, يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ. So we can eat and we can play. Yes? So send him with us tomorrow so that he can eat and play. So this is the plead. This is how they're asking. I read that first top part now, and he's now come. أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ. So now, this is the brothers asking. Now put yourself into that context. It is the brothers asking the father. Now, a reciter of Quran will follow the melody. He will try and put the emotion to it. But Abu al-Qura, the father of al-Qura, he will put an emotion that you can relate to. You can see this pleading. You can see the style of how he has done it. So, before I play it, أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا, that is the key part. He's going to read أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا, he's going to read it again, and then he's going to come back and he's going to read it again. So he's going to tell you, send him with us, send him with us. He's going to come back. They said to his father, Ya Abana, oh my father, oh our father, all of us father. مَا لَكَ لَا تَأْمَنَّا, what's wrong? Why don't you trust us? عَلَى يُوسُفَ إِنَّهُ لَنَاصِحُونَ. We are over him, we are protecting. أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا, please send him with us. غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ. Yes? You got the context? Listen to the master in action. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.